Hello there, on this video I'm going to have a little bit of a play with PMCs, which is precious metal clays. Having said precious metal clays, I can't actually afford the precious metal ones, which are obviously the silver and the gold. So I'm going to be using the copper and the bronze and have a go with that. So what I'm going to do is, and as I say, I haven't done this before, so this is purely an experiment. I'm going to use the CNC router to create a small mould for going to make a little pendant to go around a necklace, and I'm going to create the mould using this stuff. This is paraffin-based wax, which is very soft and easy to cut on the CNC router, and it will pick up fine detail as well. So I'm going to route out a little mould. I'm going to put my precious metal clay into the mould and then fire it, and we'll see what we've got. Okay, the PMCs, or in this case the copper, is fine metal dust, whether it's silver or gold or copper or bronze, and it's bound together with an organic binding. So it's like a clay, and you mould it into a particular shape that you want. Then you fire it either with a blowtorch, or in this case I'm going to use hopefully the kiln if the art department will let me. And what that does is it burns off the organic binding, and it just leaves you with that metal at the end of the process. So this is going to be quite exciting. Not used this before, and be quite interesting to see what the results are. Okay, the first thing I've done here is just to create my working area. So this is a box that I've drawn to the right size, so my piece of jewellery mustn't be larger than that box. The next thing I'm going to do is to find the image. I'm going to keep it nice and simple. I'm just going to do an image of a leaf. I've gone onto Google Images and looked at various images. The one that I've come up with is this one, a very simple clip art image. The main reason why I've gone for that is because it's not symmetrical, and I just like the way that the lines flow. So I'm going to trace that now. I'm aware that we've got a point here at the top of the leaf. Now the CNC router's not going to be able to go up to that point, so I think later on, as I'm using paraffin wax for my mould, hopefully I'll be able to cut that point bit out with a craft knife. So let's just trace the image to start with. There are no veins on the leaf at the moment, and hopefully I'm going to put those on in a bit. I'm also not going to bother with the stalk, and again I'm going to try and cut that in with a knife later. So I'm just going to go around the leaf now and just trace that. Okay, so there's my leaf shape. I'm just going to trim up these ends here. And just put some veins on here. Okay, so now I've just hidden the veins, and I'm going to contour the leaf with a 1mm contour. Now these are going to be my cut lines, and I'm going to change the colour to blue. So I'm just going to contour in the centre there like so. Okay, so they're going to be my cut lines. And up here, because obviously the router cutter is a radius, a circle, I need to cut this bit out at the top with a knife later. Okay, so there's my final drawing. The rectangle here is my working area, so that's the size of my wax, my paraffin-based wax. If I just zoom in a bit, you can see. The red line is going to be ignored. That's just the basic outside shape of the leaf. The blue lines are contoured at 1mm, so they're going to be my cut lines, and I'm going to tell the CNC router to go down 3mm. And the black lines here are the veins of the leaf, which I've drawn on as single lines. I was going to use the engrave tool for that, to give some nice fine detail, but unfortunately I can't find my engraving tool, so I'm going to have to use the cutter. So the veins are going to be slightly wider than I would have hoped for, but they're going to be 2mm wide, and I'm going to set the machine to cut those at a depth of 3.3, which means as the whole depth of the leaf is 3, then obviously the difference is 0.3 of a millimetre, so the veins will be sticking out by 0.3 of a millimetre. Okay, now I'm ready for my bronze clay. Here is the packs of the bronze clay. I think I'm going to have to use 2 packs there to be able to fill that mould. A little bit of oil on my hands, just to stop it sticking. I'm going to have trouble getting this out of the bag now I've put the oil on. So this is the bronze clay I'm using here. So it's bronze particles or dust mixed with an organic binding, and I'm just going to squish that together. It's just a bit like Play-Doh really. And now there's my my mould that I've created from the paraffin wax, and I'm just going to push that down, and I hope that it pulls up all of the detail. So I'm really going to push it down. It is going to shrink slightly when it dries. Okay, so I'm just going to push that down. I want it to pick up all the detail of the veins at the bottom. Obviously the more I get off now, the less I'll have to take off later when it's set, or when it's solidified, if that's the right phrase to use. Okay, I think that'll do me. I'm happy with that. So I'm going to leave it now to dry, and that will shrink. So hopefully that will make it easier to come out of the mould. I'm just going to pop that back in the bag. Okay, that's now dried. I'm being quite pleasantly surprised that that's come out quite easily from the mould, bearing in mind that there are no draft angles on my mould. That's come out really easily because it's shrunk. It needs to be completely dry all the way through before you put it into the kiln. Otherwise what will happen is it will start to crack. There is a way to check. What you can do is to get a cold mirror and just to place it on a cold mirror for 20-30 seconds and then take it off and just see whether there's any condensation there. And when it's completely dry, we're going to put it into the kiln and burn off the organic binding, and we'll see how that goes. Okay, at the beginning of the video I said that I was going to use the kiln to heat up the bronze. Plan B now, I'm actually going to use a butane torch surrounded with heat bricks to get up to the heat. The reason I'm not using the kiln is just purely because it's going to take ages to get up to heat. So I'm going to give it a go with butane. Okay, there we go. That's the final product. That's come straight off of the forge. I decided to use natural gas in the end rather than the butane because the butane was getting it hot too quickly, too fast. So that seems to have come out all right. It has blown a couple of cracks in it, you can see here, and I think that's due to the fact that it wasn't quite dried out before I put it onto the heat. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to clean that up and then we'll have another look at it. Okay, that's it completed now. I'm quite happy with the finish. It's got quite a rustic sort of look to it. If I was to do it again, I'd let the clay dry out a bit more before I fired it because I think it wasn't thoroughly dried through, which is why it cracked a bit. The design, I was a bit worried about the end bit here sort of melting away because the end bit was getting a lot hotter quicker than the other bits, which is why I moved from butane to using gas. So overall that's quite nice. A little bit hacked off that the drill slipped when I was drilling the hole. I I did centre punch it, but that slipped. But overall, I'm really pleased, and it's quite an exciting process to go through. So that is bronze clay.